All right, y'all, I just wanted to share a little bit of information about cholesterol. So just to give you my personal history with it, back in my unhealthiest days, which was my mid-30s, so that was about a little over 10 years ago, like 12, 13 years ago, along with high blood pressure, being pre-diabetic, being almost 100 pounds heavier than I am now, feeling like junk. I also had really high cholesterol, and I was on the statin for a little bit. And I have no idea what my numbers actually were at the time. I just remember that they were sky high according to my doctor. And knowing what I know now, that probably means I had a high total cholesterol and a high LDL, because that's usually the main thing that most modern medical doctors look at, unless they're privy to the information that we're privy to. So now fast forward over the years, I've had to, well, first of all, just transitioning to eating real food and improving my health through optimizing sleep and being outdoors and grounding and just functional fitness, everything that we, factor into living an amazing life. Everything about my life and my health has improved. And it's almost as if I feel like, to me, it doesn't matter what my cholesterol looks like, because the proof is in what is happening in my body and how I feel. And at the same time, it may be something that we want to look at, but it's so freaking confusing and nuanced. I think most people just get really frustrated with it, including myself. So over the years, I've had to be a self-proclaimed expert in the area of cholesterol. And I've been through a lot of different courses. I've been through Chris Kresser's course. I've been through the Lipid Academy. I study everything that comes out from all the greatest hotshots and holistic health leaders. And even in the holistic health realm, there's not a whole lot of agreement and certainty. But anyway, over the years, my lipid numbers have started to look better and better and better according to orthodox medicine. But they look extremely good according to the holistic health realm. And I'm just going to touch on just something I feel like is beneficial to take away from this. So a lot of people will come in, they'll start eating real food, and they will look, feel, and perform great. They'll lose weight. It's like the best they felt in their entire life. Then they go to their doctor and they have a high LDL, which they are told is the bad cholesterol. And this, in a lot of situations, will completely derail this person. They will second guess everything that they're doing. They will start to cut back on their meat and fat and think that that's the answer. And it's amazing that this entire world now is brainwashed with this flawed information. So one thing that I love about our community, Superhumans United, is that it is becoming a resource for all these very important topics, because anytime something like this comes up that I feel like is important enough to have something for us to reference, I will create an article in Superhumans United. I'm going to show you some glimpses of it, but I just want to go through a few things here. First of all, in this article, I have resources from what I consider some of the greatest thought leaders as far as cholesterol goes, and that includes Peter Attia, Chris Kresser, Ivor Cummins, Dave Feldman, who else do I have? Paul Saladino. They all have great articles, podcasts, even books that have been written about the topic. And so I share a bunch of videos and things. The lipid hypothesis is what's been the prevailing conventional wisdom for the past 50, 60 years. Lipid hypothesis basically says that eating saturated fat causes high cholesterol causes heart disease. And that hypothesis is flawed on both of those legs. It's not true at all. The latest and greatest is that cholesterol is extremely important. And it's so important that every cell in your body makes it. And eating or not eating cholesterol is going to have very little impact on what happens with the level of cholesterol inside your body, because your body is going to compensate one way or the other. If you eat a lot of cholesterol more than your body needs, it will make less. And if you eat less than your body needs, it will make more. Cholesterol is so important. 25% of the body's cholesterol is located in the brain, because cholesterol is known as the glial factor necessary for proper synapse formation. Cholesterol is a healing agent. Cholesterol is the precursor to a lot of our sex steroid hormones. So cholesterol it's a tremendous part of our existence, and it facilitates a lot of the health things that happen inside of us. LDL and HDL are not cholesterol. They are carriers of nutrients. Cholesterol is one thing they carry triglycerides, and they carry a bunch of other stuff too. So LDL and HDL are not good or bad. They are necessary as well. They're both very, very important. So the latest thinking and understanding is that, yes, it looks good. It usually seems to correlate well with having a high HDL and better health and better maybe inflammatory markers. High HDL usually correlates with better health, better inflammatory markers. LDL is not something that most of these people care about at all, because LDL comes in a variety of sizes and a variety of different purposes, depending on where it's in transit in the body and whether it's carrying a lot or not carrying a lot. Like, it's so nuanced, it's ridiculous. So most of the thought leaders do not care about LDL at all. When you understand how important cholesterol is inside the body, when you understand that every cell makes it, the brain contains a lot of it, then you start to notice that this flawed logic is the reason that most people struggle with nutrition these days, because the flawed logic of saturated fat causes cholesterol and cholesterol causes heart disease has led to people being afraid of animal foods and the foods that we have co-evolved with and that have made us who we are over the past hundred thousands, millions of years. And now the blame has shifted from saturated fat and cholesterol to meat in general. And again, meat is something that we have co-evolved with. It is what has made us human. It is what we've been eating for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. And it's sad because this is what keeps people from doing what they need to do as far as their nutrition goes, eating nutrient-dense foods, training the body how to be metabolically flexible. Because when you look at what's left, if you're not eating fat, you're not eating meat, what the heck is left? You're looking at plants and carbohydrates for the most part. So usually what we look for when it comes to cholesterol and inflammatory markers in general is, first of all, the primary causes for poor health and inflammation and insulin resistance is going to be toxic fats and oils. Things like canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, rice bran oil, sunflower oil, hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated oils, all the fake butters and spreads. Those things, the reason they're so problematic is because your body's going to take them up. And your body is going to build itself with them because it mistakes them for good fats, which they're not good fats. And because it builds itself with them and it takes them up, it displaces your body's ability to use the appropriate fats for structure and for energy. And then this makes the body even more dependent upon carbohydrates, because now you have thrown a kink in the energy creation system. All right, so just imagine if I can't use fat for fuel. It would be like me pouring molasses into my Jeep for fuel. It is something the body or the Jeep doesn't recognize, and it will clog the whole system up. And that's what these toxic fats and oils do. And yet these are the things that we have transitioned to because we've been told that animal foods and saturated fat are so bad for us. So again, what is left? What's left are these processed industrial seed oils. So that's probably one of the biggest drivers for inflammation and insulin resistance, but also toxic ingredients like wheat and corn and soy, preservatives, artificial sweeteners, dyes and colors, refined carbohydrates, and then also just eating too often. I think as Americans, we have access to too much food too often. We don't give the body a break and a chance to actually burn its own body fat for fuel. So those are the things we would consider contributing to poor health. If you look at a standard lipid panel, what does a standard lipid panel give you? A standard lipid panel usually gives you total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, and triglycerides. And there's not a whole lot of info that you can glean from that. But again, the thought leaders in the holistic health realm, what they see as most important is a high HDL and a low triglycerides. They don't care about total and they don't care about LDL. What I would recommend is if you're not eating real food, let's say that you're just eating a standard American diet, or you don't have your nutrition figured out. You want to figure it out. You're doing the best you can, but you're not sure if you're doing the right thing. If you have a high LDL, a high total cholesterol, in the context of eating a standard American diet or processed food, it's not the cholesterol that's a problem. It's the processed food. When I go out here and I look at people's shopping carts in a normal grocery store, like Walmart or Vons or Winco or Smith's, I am not seeing a ton of meat and butter and eggs that are causing the poor health of all these people. It is, you look at people's shopping carts, and a lot of this is unintentional and inadvertent and from true ignorance. They just don't know. They're probably trying to do the right thing by avoiding meat and fat and eating all these whole grains and things that are low in fat, and for whatever reason they think that stuff is healthy. It has all these toxic oils. But if you look at what they're eating, it's mainly processed food. And you see maybe a little bit of butter, usually it's fake butter. You see a little bit of meat, but it's usually chicken breast. So how can meat and fat be what's driving this poor health of this modern industrialized world? It's not. It's processed food. So anyway, if you're not eating a real food, whole foods diet, and you have high cholesterol numbers, it's not the cholesterol that's the problem. It's the food that you're eating. If you're in this real food realm that we're in now, and you are a real foodie to the best of your abilities based on what you understand and know, and that can mean that you're paleo, that you're primal, that you're Weston A. Price, that you're keto, low carb. You could even be a smart vegan. If you're in the real food realm and you have high LDL, it's still not a problem. I would look at, if it was me personally, I would look at having a high HDL and a low triglycerides. High HDL usually is indicative of someone eating traditional foods and traditional fats, low inflammation, and then low triglycerides is usually, even though it's not 100%, is usually indicative of someone that's having relatively lower carbohydrates. So, and then you want to look at other inflammatory markers. You know, other inflammatory markers would be things like, well, first of all, like things to measure insulin resistance and metabolic health. If you have good blood pressure, if you have a good fasting glucose and a fasting insulin, if you have a low C-reactive protein, sometimes you can look at homocysteine. So there's some other things that you can look at that are much more telling as far as inflammation goes. And to go into a doctor and only have this lipid panel and to have LDL highlighted as the biggest problem, when the problem is not cholesterol, the problem is not meat, the problem is not fat, the problem is processed food and inflammation, and that is not the best way to measure inflammation. So to bring it back around, I'm proud of our community because this is where we house all our different resources. If you want to know the details of all this, everything that we need to know is listed in different articles inside the community. We've got resources, blog posts, videos, all the different things I talked about before, the Lipid Academy, Cresser stuff. And then also we have guidelines and we have conversations around this stuff so that if you have questions or you have an update, you can share that information in here, okay? So I hope that's useful. Hope I didn't go too much of a rant. Holy moly, I went 12 and a half minutes, but whatever. So to summarize and bring it all back, cholesterol is extremely important. Cholesterol is so important. Every cell in your body makes it. A lot of your brain contains it. It has a lot of different roles and functions inside the body. Eating it or not eating it is not going to change your the cholesterol levels in your body very much. And then the question is, what are the appropriate cholesterol levels in the body? We don't think that's the best thing to look at for health. All right, your best indicators for health are going to be how you look, feel, and perform. And maybe some inflammatory markers. If you're not eating real food and you're eating processed food and you know that you need to clean things up and you have a high cholesterol, that is not something to scare you from eating meat and fat, because meat and fat is not the problem. The problem is processed food. All right. If you're eating real food, if you're in the paleo realm, primal realm, low carb, keto, Weston A. Price, if you're in that realm, carnivore, animal-based, if you're in that realm and you have high LDL, then I would really look at a high HDL as something that you want to look for, low triglycerides, and you're looking for relative change over time, all right? You're looking for things to get a little bit better over time. And then I would also measure other inflammatory markers. And I got a list of those. If you got any questions on it, just let me know, okay? All right? So with a lot of love, you guys make it a great day. Eat some animal meats and traditional fats, yo.